So I was just researching demon summoning, don't ask why, and that kind of reminded me of this YouTube web series. I don't know if you've heard of it, it's a bit obscure. It's called Helluva. I mean, it would be understandable if you've never heard of it. I mean, its most recent video did only get 11 million views in its first week of being out. Yeah, that's rookie numbers. And the first episode did only get 31 million views. That's a little better. Okay, but in all seriousness, this show is actually pretty impressive. I mean, I know for a fact I'd probably never be able to make something like this. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to go too deep into telling you why this show is actually pretty good. I don't want to bore you with a super long intro, but I do have to warn you. If you came here to look at some spicy drama,
well, you came to the wrong place.
So, now that the intro is said and done with, let's get into a true critique of Helluva.
When you want somebody gone and you don't want to wait too long, call the immediate murder professionals. Hand grenade or cyanide will make it look like suicide. The immediate murder professionals. We do our job so well because we come straight up from hell.
So, Helluva, what is it? Where did it come from? And who made it? Well, I guess where did it come from should already cover who made it, shouldn't it? So, Helluva is an adult animated comedy created by Vivian Madrano and animated by her artist collective Spindle Horse. It takes place in hell and follows a group of imps and a hellhound. They all run a company called IMP, which stands for Immediate Murder Professionals. And their jingle is catchy as fuck, by the way. All the immediate murder professionals. Their husband or your wife will even let you keep them. But anyway, the guy running the company is Blitz. The O is silent. He has an adopted hellhound daughter named Luna, who everyone wants to He also has a married couple working for him, Millie and Mox. We're not talking about the characters just yet. First, we gotta talk about the plot. Since this isn't just a pilot like my last two videos, I'm actually gonna have to go a bit more in depth with each episode. Also, we're not gonna go into the pilot because nothing really important happened in that, so on to episode 1. Episode 1 follows a teacher who lived a nice, wholesome, Christian life. She had a nice job and, of course, a loving, faithful husband. I'm just fucking with you. Of course her husband cheats on her. And of course she does the only logical thing to do and brutally murders her husband and attempts to brutally murder the girl he was cheating on her with. She then kills herself, and that's how she ended up hiring IMP, because plot twist, the girl her husband was cheating on survived. And now the teacher has hired IMP to kill said woman. And during all this, Moxie says he doesn't want to kill a happy family, but when they finally have to kill the family, they discover that it's not a happy family. It is in fact a psychotic, cannibalistic family. Because of course it is. And after they all have encounters with different members of the family, Blitz, Millie, and Moxie all get captured. And after the wife attempts to burn Blitz and Millie, we then discover that apparently imps are fireproof. I'm going to guess all demons are fireproof. Moxie eventually escapes his captivity, and he frees Millie and Blitz. And then after getting the rest of the family killed by a bunch of cops, they all throw a party because Moxie got finally... I don't fucking know why they throw a party. Do they do this with every client? Now on to episode 2, where I'm now going to introduce you to Stolas. a character I didn't bring up in the first episode because he doesn't really have a big role in that, but I guess he has a big role in the series, so I probably should have brought him up. But Stolas is pretty much the person who's giving the imps the ability to go to the human realm and kill humans in the first place with his grimoire. Not only do we meet Stolas, we meet his wife Stella and his daughter Octavia. So Octavia has a nightmare, and Stolas decides to comfort her by singing a fucking amazing song. And I haven't brought this up until now, but the music in this show is on point. But anyway, flash forward and we see Octavia, now older, getting woken up by her mother screaming. Then, after Stella storms out, Stolas decides to take Octavia to Lululand and hire IMP as his bodyguards. And of course, Blitzo, hearing the proposition of money, immediately jumps at the offer. But Octavia isn't particularly thrilled about it, but they go anyway, despite Octavia clearly not wanting to. And eventually they end up seeing the robotic Fizzerali's show. And Fizzerali is a clown. And RoboFizz gets his own musical number while Moxie fails at playing fair games. And Blitzo gets into a fight with RoboFizz, eventually causing him to light the entire theme park on fire. Stolas and Octavia eventually come to an understanding, and Blitz eventually destroys RoboFizz, so all is good and happy. The evil clown is dead, and Stolas and Octavia are happy. Now on to episode 3, where we learn that Blitz dated a famous pop star named Verosika, who Luna is apparently a big fan of. After Verosika steals Blitz's parking spot, he makes a deal with her that he can kill more people than she can fuck. And we also learn about human disguises, and how the imps should have been using them the entire time. More on that later, by the way. But luckily, Luna does have a human disguise, so she tags along with them. But eventually Luna gets distracted and starts trying to flirt with Verosika's bodyguard Vortex, who's also a hellhound. And then Verosika throws her flask into the ocean, which causes a fish to turn into a giant sea monster. Also, Moxie gets extremely drunk. Moxie almost gets eaten by the sea monster, but don't worry, Millie saves him. After they defeat the sea monster, Verosika tries to call them out for not wearing human disguises and just killing in broad daylight, which, while understandable, they also call out Verosika for, creating a giant sea monster in broad daylight. So Verosika agrees to let them have the parking spot. Oh yeah, this was all about a parking spot, in case you forgot. It escalated quickly. Alright, episode 4. In episode 4, we find out about a company called CHERUB, which is pretty much the opposite of IMP. Instead of being hired to kill people, they are asked to save people. Yeah, they're asked, they don't even get paid. IMP then meets someone called Loopty Goopty, someone who just died and now is already attempting to hire IMP to kill his old business partner, who, after a deadly experiment, is now going to inherit all the money. IMP then heads to Lyle Lipton's house. Oh yeah, Lyle Lipton is the name of the business partner, by the way. And we discover that this Lyle Lipton guy isn't so bad. He's probably the most relatable character in the show.
Goodbye, my one true love.
And IMP discovers that they don't even need to do anything. Lyle Lipton is about to do their job for them. Oh, did I say that IMP didn't need to do anything? I lied. The cherubs show up. Cherubs then tried their best to make Lyle Lipton not kill himself, while the imps do the opposite. The episode ends with a fight between IMP and the CHERUB, where one of the cherubs accidentally kills Lyle Lipton, and then they discover they can't go back to heaven because of that. So, will the cherubs ever get their revenge? I don't know. Alright, on to episode 5. Episode 5 starts right after Blitz and Stolas have done their business, and then we discover that Stolas needs to head to the Ring of Wrath with his grimoire for the Harvest Moon Festival. No, not that Harvest Moon. We then discover that Millie and Moxie are both from the Wrath Ring. Stolas then invites Blitz and his employees to the Wrath Ring for the Harvest Moon Festival. Blitz accepts, and so do Moxie and Millie, and Luna is Blitz's daughter, so she kinda has to tag along. And while they're there, they stay with Millie's parents, who don't really like Moxie that much. We also meet their new farmhand, Stryker, who is voiced by Norman Reedus. What? But before I have a heart attack about the fact that a show made by a bunch of internet animators managed to get Norman Reedus on the project, let's continue with the plot. After Moxie embarrasses himself in front of Millie's parents, he decides to join the Pain Games, something that they do at the Harvest Moon Festival every year, where they partake in multiple activities involving pain. 'Cause it's the Wrath Ring. Moxie then fails miserably and gets outdone by Stryker and Blitz at every turn. After Moxie finds out Blitzo is letting Stryker join IMP, he goes back to the house and discovers that he has a blessing-tipped rifle, which has the ability to kill demon overlords. Stryker finds Moxie and proceeds to beat the shit out of him before Millie comes in and beats the shit out of Stryker, and then Stryker beats the shit out of Millie. Stryker then traps Millie and Moxie under the basement, and Millie gets her foot caught in a bear trap. Moxie breaks out, and Blitz finds out Stryker's about to assassinate Stolas, but then Stryker makes an offer I'm pretty sure Blitz actually considered. Stryker offers Blitz to join him and take down demon overlords, since they're both imps who are often treated poorly. But before Blitz says yes or no, Moxie shows up, and he plays it all off like he didn't even consider it, and he was just stalling. They then have a really epic fight that ends with Moxie holding Stryker at gunpoint, but right before he can shoot him, Luna shows up because Blitz called her earlier. Stryker then escapes, but before Blitz can shoot him, he realizes he'd completely be shooting into a crowd and decides not to, which is logical. The episode then ends with Millie's dad finally acknowledging Moxie's input. It also ends with us learning that Stryker was hired by Stella, Stolas' wife. So who knows what's gonna happen to Stolas or Stryker next? I mean, he could strike anywhere. Yeah, I'll see myself out. Alright, now on to episode 6. Episode 6 opens up with us learning about the Dorks, an organization that is aware of demons in hell and wants to capture them to interrogate IMP on why they're killing random humans. Both Blitz and Moxie get captured, but Luna and Millie are safely back in hell. Millie and Luna decide to save Moxie and Blitz, which is pretty cool. We haven't really seen Millie and Luna team up yet. Well, until this episode, you know what I meant. And Moxie and Blitz are interrogated, and Moxie makes a coffee order like that one, but that one friend always orders when you're in a hurry.
I'll have a Neapolitan cappuccino, more cappa than chino. Make sure it's got no more than 4 ounces of milk. The beans won't have the right texture otherwise. And make sure they spell my name correctly on the cup. They always put Foxy or Roxy. I hate that. If you can't handle that, I'll have a venti traditional misto. Please use soy milk with 2 blonde shots, affogato, and ristretto. I'd also love 3 vanilla pumps at the very bottom. Then add the coffee after. Then add...
And after a while of fucking with the interrogators and Millie and Luna wrecking the guard's shit, the interrogators use this truth serum to make them tell the truth, and eventually we discover that Moxie recommended cats to Blitz, and Moxie thinks Blitz's suit is tacky. But then the serum begins to make them hallucinate. Moxie ends up hallucinating into a more Disney-esque scenario with a little bit of a touch of Phantom of the Opera, whilst Blitzo begins to hallucinate himself into a Fleischer-style hallucination. Moxie confesses that he doesn't talk about his true feelings about things because he's scared he'll be rejected if he speaks his mind. Blitzo, however, realizes that he's afraid to care about people, which is why he keeps pushing them away, and eventually we discover that his greatest fear is dying alone. Then, after they hallucinate, they have this nice little moment where they finally open up to each other before they're saved by Luna and Millie, and they have the most epicest fight scene in the entire show. And that's the plot so far. That's all the episodes. So what did I think of them? I thought it was fucking amazing. I like what it's building up to so far. I have a few gripes. They're mainly nitpicks, like why didn't the old guy from the 4th episode use the machine to make himself young again, and why didn't they just kill him? So yeah, overall the plot was pretty amazing. I think it has some great potential later down the road, and I really want to see what it's building up to. Seems like they're building up to some kind of revolution thing. Also, boy, this is gonna be a long True Critique episode. If you couldn't tell, this section alone is longer than most of the videos I've made. So, now that I've discussed the plot, we can finally move on to the characters.
'Cause you, my precious little bitch boy,
Stop it,
are
sir!
tripping balls.
So now on to the characters. What did I think of them? I thought they were all pretty great. I'd say my favorites go Stolas, who's played by Bryce Pinkham, Millie, who's voiced by Vivian Nixon, Moxie, who's voiced by Richard Horvitz, Blitzo, who's voiced by Brandon Rogers, and Luna, who's voiced by Erica Lindback. Also, it's kind of cool to see the voice actor for Invader Zim, Richard Horvitz, playing Moxie, because Vivian Madrano, or Vivzy Pop, started out making Invader Zim fan art. Now, as for antagonists, I'd say my favorite so far is Stryker, voiced by, as I've stated before, Norman Reedus. You know that guy from Death Stranding, who's a super A-list actor? Yeah, he's in a YouTube web series. I thought the characters worked well off each other, and I thought everyone at least had a few good jokes in there. They also had a few duds, but they all at least had 5 good jokes. I also like the arcs that they've set up for characters. Blitzo seems like it's gonna be about not being toxic and pushing people away. The dorks are also an interesting addition since they actually add a threat to go into the human realm. They can't just go in there willy-nilly anymore because they might get caught. And the cherubs seem like they're probably going to be back to be antagonists again. Doesn't really seem like they'd set up that they can't go back to heaven if they weren't going to come back. Yeah, the character section is always the shortest in these videos, so overall I liked the characters. And now let's move on to the animation. Also, this video is getting really long.
Thank you.
Way to ruin another good thing, sir.
Worth it. That slutty toy clown had it coming.
The animation. The most impressive and praised part of this show. And it's impressive, and it's praised for good reason. Now, if a studio put out an animation like this, it would be seen as slightly more impressive than a lot of the stuff on TV, but this was made by a bunch of animators on the internet. The characters move so fluidly, and there are some times where the animation gets choppy, but most of the time it's really smooth. They make some awesome rotating shots, which are some of the hardest things to do in animation. Sure, they are using a 3D model for the background, but it's still difficult. Now for the character designs, this has been somewhat of a split topic. Some people love them, and some people say they look a bit too similar, and I disagree with that. They are all slim, but they have other differences, like their height, or their head shape, They have all these other differences. They just are all skinny, and not all of them are even that skinny. Sure, that makes the characters look a bit samey, but it's not nearly to like the high degree that a lot of people claim it does. I mean, look at this lineup right here. You can very clearly tell who's who, and that they're different characters. So yeah, overall the animation is good, the character design's good, and the backgrounds are good. It's all good. And the animation seems to be only getting better with each new episode. Have you seen the most recent episode's animation? So now, let's move into the last part of this video, the conclusion.
Woman, every man loves Lululand. Lululand, Lululand. Everything is beautiful in Lululand. Ugly children holding hands in Lululand.
In conclusion, I would recommend this for a watch later. If you're looking for a show that has some funny moments, and interesting characters, and great animation, you should watch this show. Now, you may have heard some stuff about the creator being terrible, and it's not true, so you don't need to worry about that. And again, this isn't getting into any spicy drama, so overall, you should probably watch Helluva Boss. So this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you subscribe and like it, and maybe leave a comment. And let me just say, in the next episode, we're going to take a little trip to the demon realm.